now that you have mentioned data driven a bunch of times, I'm nudged to kind of ask this question around metrics. So if you look at recruitment metrics, there are a bunch of metrics. In fact, the internet will point us to around 20, 30 directions at the same point in time. But there's also this theory around information paralysis, where once we start looking at a bunch of metrics, it becomes difficult for us to understand which one of them is actually impacting our hiring process. Now, from a talent leader's perspective, that you have been skilling tech hiring at a bunch of organizations. So I want to understand which are some of the North Star metrics, the key metrics that you believe one must definitely chase at the company. Um,
Well, at least at this point of time, for me, the only metrics is, selection to joining ratio, right? I mean, that's what matters, correct? I mean, you could build strategies, you could build stories, you could build enough background to whatever you want to do, but what eventually affects the business is how many engineers got onboarded, because you're solving very very real time problems, and that problems is compounded on a monthly basis, right? So and there is dependence, because if you don't have certain number of engineers coming in during this period of time and performing a particular job, then you cannot onboard further engineers later, right? So it has a cascading effect there, and therefore the only metric that matters is what is your selection to joining, right? And if you are able to figure out and go backwards, right, what is the number of engineers that you need at a given point of time, and then you start working backwards around it. What has been your selection ratio, what has been your screening ratio, what has been your interviewing ratio, and so on. Then you will be able to create a whole you'll be able to create a whole bunch of processes around to figure out that final goal. See, at one point of time, I mean, I say if you would ask me this question about what about a decade back, then it used to be cost per hire, right? Because then the resources were much constrained, right?
right.
You had to make sure that for a certain number of resumes that you pass on to the business, you had to make certain number of offers there. Today resources, I don't think is such a issue, because I know for a fact that like engineers are dirt to find. Good quality recruiters are a dirt to find, right? Therefore, most times the stakeholders, or most times your business leaders, would evaluate you on what are the number of people you've been able to onboard without compromising the bar of talent.